If you're watching this, then that means you're a weeb. What? Are you expecting an announcement? Let's just start already. The calm before the storm. That's basically this episode in one sentence. I don't think I need to say much about this episode, but that final scene with Fukuho, that's a definite moral drop for them. The kind that I don't like, since naysayers can use it as an excuse as to why Fukuho lost in the end. Quite a number of reveals we have today. Of these reveals, the cause of Princess Venus' split personality is what caught my interest. You see, based on Werner's story, he actually thought of Prax and Fine as a bird and shot them as a result. But the thing is, that story cannot be so easily sold. For one thing, the reasoning is weak as hell, and another thing, it might be that Werner at the time was under the influence of some shady political power play, since it's absurd that someone who is last in line for the throne gets picked. If Crusader Kings 2 has taught me anything, you clean up excess heirs to avoid possible dissent from various sources. And based on that, my theory for Werner's shooing is that he's definitely pushed by someone or something into doing it. We just don't know the reason yet. If we frame Hinami as a plot device rather than an actual character, understanding her becomes a much easier job, as while there are actual people like her, it's much easier to just brand them as freaks of nature. As for the much awaited date between Best Boy and Best Girl, even if it was just a few minutes, that was one hell of a roller coaster ride. There were moments of absolutely winning, and there were moments of
abandon ship. This is not a drill. All personnel, this is not a drill. I say again, abandon ship.
But with all the overreactions I've experienced, the date turned out pretty well, and everyone knows that our boy is making gains and is taking notes on how to further improve himself. Also, protect that smile. So apparently, it didn't matter if our girls reached the 3,500 sales mark. Because capitalism, that's why. With our girls going for a hard reset for their theater, a much bigger reveal has been given to us. To think that the nuclear bombing from 5 years ago was just an illusion to showcase the power of a technology that is similar to augmented reality, I kinda understand now what the old creeps tried to go for here. With Kaorin still missing, though she's presumably inside the same machine as this one, it's only a matter of time before Best Leader shows up again for one final confrontation with this series' antagonist.
行くぞ京子じゃあなしんどあとエロくねえかおおあれあいつ宮村じゃねおくそ今度会ったら
こうなるのよもうほんとドジなんだから
うっせえよクソ女がお前は黙ってろどけ
Ah, yes, the trial arc. Always a staple to have one of these whenever we have a main character that needs to lead. Suffice to say, it did what it set out to do, and I have no complaints whatsoever. I'm just sitting here, watching in anticipation as to how the whole Civil War arc will pan out. Because let's be honest, other than a few nice details sprinkled here and there, nothing really happened in this episode. But hey, at least it's still good. Unlike a certain show's episode here that is just terrible to sit through. This is a very emotional episode. I don't know where to begin nor what to say for this episode, so let me put it this way. This episode made me stop and rethink about some things for some time. There's something about what unfolded in this episode that deserves a longer discussion than what I normally do. Because I don't have the luxury of time, I'll say this instead. Everyone involved in the making of this episode definitely nailed this one, and they deserve every bit of praise for being able to deliver the messages they intended to tell us. Studio Lurch, you did everyone proud with this episode. Mommy's finally awake, and not gonna lie, I felt a bit emotional seeing this. Considering the context, I think everyone can agree with me that we're just happy that Shiki got his family back. In other news, Aya is already a controversial character for two reasons. First, her clothing choice. Look, I'm not one to fashion shame here, but the problem I have here is that as far as I can remember, when I was 8 years old, I don't remember 8-year-old girls wearing clothing this revealing. I mean, I don't mind the fashion choice, but we're talking about someone below the clock in age. The other reason is her personality. How likely is it that an 8-year-old is thinking this far ahead, wanting a boyfriend, and even has the gall to suggest marriage? Seriously, if this is how 8-year-olds operate today, then Jesus, what's happening with the latest generation of kids? When I was 8, coloring books were some of the best pastimes I had, and playing outdoor games with the neighbors is one of the best things to do in a day. And then we have Aya here. Well, if anything, an interesting development. I'll rather watch and see how this kind of phenomena pans out for everyone, but thanks Reddit, by the way, because I went to the Reddit, to the subreddit, anime subreddit, and I found out that quite a number of people do agree with me regarding Aya's fashion sense, and yeah, some humanity was restored after seeing that. Rudyard, as far as I can remember, is the first decent male character of this series. And by decent, he's not as sex-crazed as the rest of the other notable male characters. Well, they all happen to be Grey Rats anyway, so it's not a conclusive sample size yet. As for the Migard village, I like the fact that Rudy has met his soon-to-be in-laws, yes, I'm referring to Roxy's parents, and our boy really didn't help back with imposing that idea. With the White God advising Rudy to help Rudyard, and 2 episodes remaining, sadly, for our first core, it's anybody's guess, at least to anime-onlys like me, on what could happen. Personally, I have no idea whatsoever, and I don't plan to make a prediction either. I just want to be surprised as much as possible and enjoy the final 2 episodes. I know I kind of implied in previous weeks that we should give the girls a break from Otherside ventures. But dear me, the first time they didn't go to the other side happens to be the weakest episode to date. I mean, sure, we got info dumps and revelations and stuff, but today's other side visitor is so lame. I have no complaints with the new characters, but I just realized if my two main girls aren't living on the edge relative to other side encounters, this show falls flat really fast. After this episode, I am now a staunch believer of the soon-to-be meta of having demon lords as a priority of the highest order when looking for new waifus. Even though she hasn't given herself to Kearu, Eve is now my best girl for this series, and that is non-negotiable. You had a good run, Setsuna. You had a good run. But Eve is just way too superior for you to challenge. So regardless if Eve finally does it with our freak boy, good God, I don't know if I can actually wait to read the manga long enough that the season has finished airing. Is that even legal? Like, what the frick, man? I was expecting a down-the-wire kind of finish. Then again, Adam did what Adam did, and if you can just smack the hell out of your opponent anyway, why do we even bother to race to begin with? As for Reki and Langa, I'm getting skeptical with how our script team's going to write the resolution, because my biggest fear right now is that it gets rushed for the sake of them making up. I still hope it won't end that way, but the signs aren't so favorable at the moment. First off, the demon lords for both Redo Feeler and this anime are cute as hell. And I haven't decided on who's the better demon lord among the two. Then again, why compare when we can just celebrate their existence as an absolute win for the anime community? As for that final scene with Julius biting the dust, for the very first time since this show has started, I'm actually excited for Shun. Simply because I want to see a hero that has morals but is broken by the weight of the role, and I think, if written right, Shun could be that guy. At least that's what I hope he will be. Also, obligatory Kumiko appreciation screen time because why not? This is still her show for all we know. For a story as simple as this, Last Dungeon Boonies is performing at a level so much higher than what I initially thought it would be. While the fights are rather cartoony and nonsensical in nature, the execution of the subtle comedy that accompanies it makes it more enjoyable than the standard fair fantasy fight. The slice of life scenes and the romance scenes aren't a liability either, as they are just on par, if not sometimes better, than the fights themselves. With a failed attempt to do evil shenanigans by this dude, our story is definitely about to reach its climax quite soon, and quite honestly, no matter how this show ends, I think it has done more than enough to be considered as a good show. At least by Miles standards, we're looking at a 7/10, if not higher. This episode has to be the weakest episode in this show's entire run. As questionable as episode 8 was, it simply does not feel right when Hidden Dungeon doesn't involve any form of immoral act. Also, the fight scenes are painfully terrible to watch, so that didn't help either with the lack of depravity. With that said, seeing next episode's title and that Emma Brightness art.
Ah, shit. Here we go again.
Of all the details we've gotten in this episode, The reveal that Acha and Ura-Acha are behind the suicides of every girl in this series. Let's be serious. We still don't know a lot about these two right now, and I'm not exactly sure myself on how to feel about this revelation. The reveal wasn't surprising, but it wasn't too obvious either. I still lean towards the narrative that they just have their own self-interest, and we just happen to have our best girls be involved in whatever they're trying to cook here. I don't have all the details in my head, but trying to force myself to think about it would be counterproductive. So until next week, I would rather keep the interpretations for this week's episode open until we get more information to digest. If this anime season was a horse race, then we are now at the far turn of this race. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video and leave a comment down below if you have something to share or if you have any questions. I hope you have a good time wherever you are, stay safe, and see you guys next time.